So next we're going to talk to someone who is, without a doubt, the pioneer in political direct mail, and also one of Clayton's very, very good friends, Mr. Richard Viguerie.
Thank you, Carline. What a wonderful tribute that was to Clayton. To be honest with you, it was bittersweet. I really had a hard time watching it. I so miss that guy. Cindy talked about how a lot of Phillips alumni here, but like you knew your daughter before anybody else, I knew Tom Phillips before anybody else. He was a sophomore at Dartmouth, invited me to come to speak to his young conservative group at Dartmouth, which I did, became fast friends. In mid-70s, he asked me for a job. I kept putting him off, saying, I don't have something right now, Tom. One day he literally showed up uninvited in my office with a new wife, new bride, and I said something to the effect, Tom, go down the hall, there's an empty office, I'll catch up with you later. Over the next few years, we started a couple of newsletters, and he came in one day and said he wanted to leave. I said, sorry to see you go, Tom, but he said one of the newsletters. I said, take them with you. I didn't want any newsletters. I didn't know what the value of them. So anyway, if I had the sense God gave most people, I'd say, sure, Tom, just 10%, just 10%. So we lost another giant from Phillips back in those days, David Franke last year, who probably more than anybody else was responsible for getting Tom into the health newsletters, and he was just a giant marketer as well. When I met Clayton, I was 80 years old, 87 now, and so he didn't change my life, but he and Wendy greatly enhanced, enriched my life, and it was just wonderful, great 7 years. Again, thank you, Carline, and all of those who've helped put this together, Marcella, daughter number 2, this wonderful tribute for a legend, a giant of a direct marketer, and who just happened to be a dear, dear friend to all of us speakers today. Clayton was so exceptional in so many ways. I don't think anybody's touched on this yet, but a lot of attributes have been attributed to Clayton. But remember, he was at the top of his game, world-class postal marketer. And then on a dime, he switches and becomes, for 20-plus more years, a world-class digital marketer. I don't know anybody else that's done that. It's just incredible. So anyway, I suspect, Brian, you were talking about what a good friend, maybe one of your best friends. I suspect that there are 50 people that would say, swear on a stack of Bibles, I was one of Clayton Makepeace's 2 or 3 best friends, which says a whole lot about how he treated people. He just made you feel so very, very special. Clayton knew me long before I knew him. At the age about 16, Clayton is working for a client of mine in Tulsa, and he's running at night the printing press and inserting machines. And so 2 or 3 times a year I'd visit the client, and the day before I would arrive, Clayton would be told, hey, shape up the place, get it looking real nice. Viguerie's going to be here tomorrow. Okay. And so anyway, he saw me. I never remember seeing him as maybe 1969, 1970s. And during those long, boring nights when the machines are whirling away, he begins to read my copy. And he had this thought to himself, hey, I can do this. So all you copywriters out there who read your copy, edited your copy, long before that, he was reading my copy and felt he could outperform me, and he probably could have. For the next 45 years after that, when he was 16, we had occasion later years to come in contact, not a lot. But I remember I was in the late 80s visiting my Cajun family friends, relatives down in South Louisiana. And Clayton, knowing I was coming, invited me to meet him at the Blanchard office, which I did. He thought maybe there was some business we could do. And he met me in the lobby. And so we're going up the elevator. And I said, Clayton, how do you like New Orleans? And he said, oh, it's great. I just love the people, the food, everything. The music is so great. If only we could teach these Cajuns to read and write, he said. I didn't say anything. About 3 or 4 seconds, I said, Clayton, I'm 100% Cajun. I never saw Clayton in such a loss for words. But anyway, we went on having a little contact now and then, but the really reconnection that I had with Clayton was thanks to Brian Kurtz in Miami, Rooftop Hotel, reception and dinner. And I'd say that was about, I don't know, maybe 2015, something like that. And it was just love at first sight. It was just, it was like we had never been apart there. And so our relationship just immediately blossomed and became exceptionally close. After we reconnected there on that rooftop at Brian's Mastermind, he and Wendy began to come to my home out in the country, maybe 2-3 times a year. And it's been 4-day weekends. And usually we were joined by my son Ryan, Amanda Dobson, sometimes Perry Belcher, Kathleen and Mark from my office. I remember the first time that he came to my home, stopped at my office, and Kathleen, our president and CEO, arranged for about 20 of our creative people to gather in a conference room. And so Clayton waxed long and eloquently for well over an hour about his life as a marketer. Remember one of our executives, Ben Hart, said, I really want to know about the history of your name, your last name, And so Clayton loved to talk about the history of Makepeace, where it came from, etc. So I was talking to Kathleen yesterday, and she reminded me that in that hour in my conference room, he talked about Bob Stone and John Caples and his checklist, how every piece in a postal mailing had to have a purpose. It had to be a reason it was in the mailing. There were many. There's an old saying about opposites attract. It didn't work for Clayton and me. We shared so much. That we shared. I can't think of anything we really didn't almost share together. We shared our Christian faith. His father was a preacher. When I would go to Mass on Sunday morning, 8:30 Mass out in the country, Clayton and Wendy were always there with me. That was really what he wanted. We shared a deep love of marketing, especially direct marketing. He read and reread the classics, Hopkins, Ogilvy, Stone, Caples, Benson, Swartz, Reese and Cialdini. We shared a friendship with so many people in marketing, many on this Zoom call. We shared a work ethic. He was up at 4:30 most every morning. I've heard Clayton, as perhaps some of y'all have, say numerous times about how when he was working in California, getting started, he would get up at 4 and 4:30 and right till noon. And the reason he did that, because at noon, that's when the girls came to the beach, and he wanted to be free the rest of the day. So he kept that habit the rest of his life. Long weekends at my home, no matter how early I got up, I'd go into the kitchen to get a cup of coffee. Clayton was there with his coffee and writing. We shared a love of history, shared a love of reading, including fiction, nonfiction. We shared, of course, the same politics, shared a love of all things politically conservative, including philosophy, ideas, Fox TV. We shared a love of giving and learning and teaching and mentoring young aspiring marketers. Clayton enticed my son, who has an international English teaching marketing business, to leave Prague and join him at Agora, where he mentored my son. We share a love of trivia. We love to talk about movies. Our very favorite of all the movies we talk about, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And whenever he would come to my home, many times during that long weekend, we would try to come up with a new saying that we hadn't said before about from the movie there. Without question, our very favorite was George Clooney is surrounded by the feds. The police are everywhere. He's in a hay barn and says, "Darn, we're in a tight fix. Darn, we're in a tight spot. And reason, if you've seen that movie, you know it. And Carline asked us to keep it G-rated, so I just did.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that part.
Darn, we're in a tight spot.
Richard,
I'll never say that without thinking of Clayton.
Richard. Hey, Richard, this was thank you, Richard. This was great. I'm sorry. You know what? We could spend an hour just listening to your stories. They were amazing. And I remember, especially what you just said about Clayton and his work schedule, 4 a.m. so he can get out on the beach by noon to see the girls. Now I know why he worked that early. Thank you for explaining it to me. We have to keep moving on, but thank you so much for being here and sharing your stories.